Hey guys, back again. All right, let's take a look at VertCoin. So many of you guys caught this. This was just a home run for many of us. So, does that mean with this kind of sell-off that we're over here? Well, absolutely not, right? So we've got a trending market, and we're getting a pretty steep reaction here, a steep correction. So let's just analyze it as we would any chart that we were looking at. The fact that we caught this and made some money, that's why we're in crypto, to see this kind of, I mean, who knew, right? We'd no way to know you're going to get that kind of rip from it. But so here we are. So let's just break it down. So we've done some relabeling, since we can now quantify this as potentially a completed one wave. So if we look at it in that context, we'd have a 1, a 2, here's a big 3, some sort of 4 going in, and maybe there's a 5 to come. Let me get that up to a larger degree, and that'll work. Okay, so a steep correction, right? Clearly, right? There were people that were, a lot of people on YouTube were writing me about this since we had set it up on the channel last week, early in the week before the rip. So a lot of people want to know about it. Now, so likely when that's the case, you have people that just, have a gift. The market's given them a gift. So you're getting stops hit along the way. So people were trailing with stops most likely. And those are getting hit, which accelerate the downside. And then as you look at this, I'm on a 1 hour here. We try and see if we can get some subdivision. And let me open it up a little bit, and I'll take this off and just explain to you why we're there. So let's just strip it bare. So we do get a little A, B, and a C. But given that steepness, right, that would be very abrupt. So if you think about the length of time, so you've got this date range here. So if we think about, I got to go over a little bit. So if we think about from our low to this entire one wave here, that's 124 bars. Okay, well that's something worth noting. Our two wave is 23 bars. This correction here would have been 6 bars. Too fast. Too fast. Likely too fast. So you want to let this show a little bit more subdivision and structure. So it's not surprising to me that we put in a B wave here. I guess we can take some of this off, but you just make the point. It's always worth looking at that. So in an Elliott count, there's a proportion that you want to look for. Now, it's kind of a guess here. I'm noticing that this pivot here before this impulse starts seems to be something the market's responding to. The traditional would be this 2 wave here. Well, we've gone deep. We're to and through the 61865 pocket. We don't invalidate, because we have our wave 1 here, so we know for sure that this is an important swing here. We don't want that to be violated, and we've so maybe you're just getting a little extremity because of the extreme move that we had, that we've gone a little bit deeper. So this doesn't that doesn't really bother me that much. We may have a pivot here. This plays. It's a shallow C wave. But that's a contender, right? So people will be looking for that run back up. So a couple of obvious things that we would do, so low here to low, we could look at that. So there's a channel. It's a bit steep for a pitchfork, but I would consider it. Draw it up. Now I've got the modified, so let's go to the original. So you're in, possibly a little pocket, that corner pocket trade that I like to talk about. So, contenders here. So where are upside targets that would be meaningful? Well, of course, if we're going to start, if we have a hard pivot here, which we may, if we get a good pivot, let's look at our oscillators. We don't, you didn't get great depth there, but that's been a really strong market. The one thing we can say is we've got an impulsive move here, right? So that's clearly a third wave. And now we're just retracing that. So if we're going to start to move higher, well, we've got to break through those same resistance points on the way back up. So, it's always a battle between fibs. So we would draw from swing high to swing low. Okay, now I'm going to take these off since we know where we are. We know that that's potentially our pivot. Now coming back the other way, here's the first thing we want to, so you can see I have an alarm here. So I want to be alerted when we get to the 382 on the way back up. I want to be alerted when we get to the 50. So if you look at this and consider upside targets here, well, median line, this would be the the absolute perfect one, where you get median line intersection with the channel, and you've got potential for that to play in terms of our alternate price projection. So if I go from my absolute low here where this impulse started to my one wave, from my two wave, well, there's the 2618. So this, you can get a sense of how extreme this is. So now I say, no, that's not high enough. So I'd pull from this to this low. Now, look at that. Now that gets interesting. So there's my 100% of my third wave projected from what potentially is my fourth, and I get nice confluence up here. I get the 100%, which would be the most logical target for a fifth wave, 100% of the length of 3 up here. We get this nice structural market geometry overlap. So we've got all of this upside potential here, and we're now just looking for a way to get in. So you want to be more conservative considering this volatility. This is what I would suggest. That's why I want to know about getting to the 38. So I would be looking for that right there. So come back down, testing the outside edge of the pitchfork and or potentially the channel. So this low is going to need to get tested. So a move away from it, a push back down to it. We know if we're entering here, we know where our stop is. Well, you'd have to give that a little bit more room, but this is not a high price crypto. So if you were looking for entry for a long position right here with targets up here, you could be more conservative and say, well, if we break the channel, I don't want it. There's 12-1. If you want to give it maximum space, you got to come this low. Now you're only at 3-1. So I'd take the smaller stop and wait and see, because we could be coming deeper. There's the 618. This could be coming lower. So if you're looking for entry, I'd rather take the small loss if that's going to break outside of both the pitchfork, the outside median line, and the channel. If that's going to break that, then I'm we're going to wait for another pivot to show. What is it we're waiting for? We're waiting for a higher low. Higher low on a smaller time frame. We're looking for another higher low, anticipating that we'll start a move up towards this, but not worried about not expecting it to go in a straight line. This very unusual, and there were opportunities along the way actually, but it's not going to go straight. So what we'd be looking for is then we get a 3 wave maybe to that target. Then we're looking for a test back down here to the median line, or to the outside edge of the pitchfork. So you're looking for that structure, knowing it's okay if I don't get the absolute swing low here of this. That's just fine, because there's going to be opportunities along the way to add. So if you wanted to nibble at it, this is not a bad place to be looking for your first retracement. I'm only on a 1 hour here. So, this is not firmly established as a pivot, but it's a contender. It's a contender. I'd love to see the first target get up to the 38. Because then there's the 50, then the 618. Got to get through all of those on the way up to that 100%. So those are all potential resistance spots where you may have the opportunity to add. All right, let me. That's 8 minutes. Okay, let's go over this. This is just an exercise that a few people were DMing me about new trades or how to look for trades. So on a day like today, when the market is primarily soft, I'll go over to the list and say, okay, well, who's performing today? So you guys know I like to stay, and I want to stay where I've got lots of volume and I've got some historical data to work from. That's why I don't touch ICOs. I don't go near anything that doesn't have at a minimum 6 months of data. So I want to see data. I want to see volume. I want to know that I've got a lot of people in the coin, and I want to see some historical data so that I can analyze it and get some pivots to work from. So as I look here, this is against Bitcoin. Pretty much everything is down, but I got a few standouts here. I've got Stellar. We've looked at that a few times. I didn't like the look of that, but one that I haven't traded much is Stratis. So I need to learn a little bit more about it. So I go over to Stratis. Pardon me. I go over to CoinGecko, look at Stratis, learn a little bit about what it's all about. Okay, this is no small coin with 359 million as a market cap, It's on the scale here. We're at 59. You know I like them 50 or higher, so I've definitely got a contender. Google Trends are moving higher. Here's their Twitter feed. You can look at it and see, okay, so what, that's a good place to go and see, is there something happening right now that is sparking this kind of movement on a day when most of the whole crypto space is down? You got good development action. They got a robust following here on Twitter and Facebook. A lot of discussion on Reddit. So you've got an active development community. All the things that we like to see. And we've got a good base number here on their metric scoring of 59. So let's go look at it. All right. Good enough to take a look at it. We have it against Bitcoin and the dollar. So I posted this up for you guys earlier. So look how beautifully this is playing ball. So when I posted this, I think the market was about here, and I was trying to show you guys. Well, here's a nice application of market structure confluence, right? That's always what we're looking for. Can we get 2 or 3 pieces of the puzzle to give us both a target and a potential pivot? So just a quick look at it, we can see we get this leading diagonal, or it's diagonal because of the overlap of the 1. So diagonal can only be found in a 1 wave or an A wave. A 1 wave and A wave, where you can have a diagonal as an ending diagonal in a C wave or a phi wave. This would be a leading diagonal, only available, only an option in a 1 wave or an A wave. So we get a nice leading diagonal, but let's not forget where this is coming from. So if we go back out, go to a 12-hour, this has been a very long downtrend. But it's been relatively technical. So you got to look at that and say, well, what's the likelihood that I've got a good low in here? So you just start pulling fibs and say, well, is it trading technically? Well, if I go low here, right to the window. I don't know how many times I've shown that to you guys. High to low, right into the pocket, right to target. Then we go again. So I swing down to that low, and I pull from here. Doesn't quite get there. Gets to the 50, gets right to the Vegas wave, and then we go down again. Now from this low, here's our target down here. So we haven't gotten down there. So that potentially you may have more downside because those algo targets. But we're seeing signs of impulsive behavior. So again, just because those targets are down there doesn't mean they always get them. So let's go back. Let's go to a 4-hour. And we've had, this spark here. Now look on the 4-hour. We've gone right, right to I would consider this the outside edge of the Vegas wave. Contain, down, little spark, but we got right to that pitchfork and to the 50 of this swing. All right, so I'm pulling from here to my absolute low. I'll wiggle it here. So here it is right here. We go to the 50 to the tick. Now we have the other swing here. Right, if I wiggle this one here, we're right at the 786. So I get that confluence that I always talk about. You get the confluence, right? It's a puzzle, guys. We're trying to put together the pieces of the puzzle. So I've got my 50% of the higher swing, 786 of the closer swing, the pitchfork edge. I've got pattern here. I've got nice pattern for a leading diagonal to suggest that maybe I've got a spark underway here, and we've got potentially a new trend taking shape. So what do? Well, of course, let me pull some of this off here so I can recreate it for you. Okay, so if I've got a 1 wave here, well, of course, first thing I'm going to do is look at the retracement of the entire thing and go from swing low to swing high. Well, here's my 38. Here's my 50 to my 618. With highest probability for a wave 2 is between the 50 and the 618. So if you were looking for a fresh entry, it would be right in this pocket. So if it's going to get there this fast, again, it's a little too fast because I want to see some subdivision in that. So potentially all we've done is just put in an A. I want to see an A, B, and a C. Now, granted, I've got the median line to contend with here, so you kind of are in a wait and see. But it doesn't surprise me. This is very common for an A wave to go right to the 38.2. Do you see that? Of the entire move up, we come down, we wick a prior fibs here on the 50 of the way back up, and then we hit the 38 to the tick. We're a little shy of the median line. So what I'm looking for now next is this. I'll put the wave on it so you guys, this is one to have on your chart and alarm it. So now we're just looking for this to continue. So next contender would be, if we're going to go from this to this, got to go off to the side a little bit. So we'd be expecting to see some resistance on the way back up if indeed we're going to get a B wave here, somewhere between, contenders are the 50, the 618 to the 786. So somewhere in this zone, since I'm not looking to sell it, I'm just looking for it to stay to plan. So anywhere in this zone, I'm looking for a B wave. And then I'm looking for the last C to come down. Maybe we're down to here. Maybe we're to the pocket of the 618 to the 65. You wait and see, because now I'm looking for subdivision in that fifth to tell me that I potentially got a good pivot that plays with pattern, subdivision pattern, price coming down to the 618. And structure, and looking for some market geometry. So you might then be expecting something along this line. So if we get our B wave, then our C wave, you'd be looking for something down here for that potential C wave, either at the center line of the channel, the edge of the channel, depending on how quickly it gets there. If it's going to move that fast, then the median line may or may not be play a role in that. You could get a double bottom here of a shallow C, all contenders, right? We don't have enough information. All we really know is that we've had some sort of an impulsive spark here. And look how hot we get with the RSI. So potentially we get a spark this against the dollar. It's not as good against Bitcoin. Here it is against Bitcoin. Long established downtrend. Look how nicely that Vegas wave has contained it on the way down. So of course, we're just pulling fibs. So note here. All right, so here's the first one. Swing down, we go up to the 50, Vegas wave, down to target. So we keep moving it. So now we look at it and say, well, is the all the way back there? Well, we also have to consider the last swing, right to the 618 to the tick. Little bit, Vegas wave contains it, boom, goes a few ticks from the target. You see that? So what is that telling us? Algos are in. All right, so if they're in, well, then we can start to kind of follow in their footsteps. So we're going to go low to high again to the 50. Do you see it? Right? It's just over and over and over again. This is why they make so much money. So and it's not complicated. What they're doing is not. You'd think it would be more complicated, but it's not. So swing low, go to the 50, go to the negative 23. Now they're to and through. We've gone to the negative 618 of both. So potentially, with targets hit, we get some sort of potential change of trend. But you got to get through a lot of resistance along the way. A lot of resistance. First one here would be this 50 of this pull. We've already hit all of this. So just looking here, so not as good, even though we've got this little spark, and you look at it here against Bitcoin, and you see, oh man, it's up 25% today. Well, is that tradable yet? Not in my book. That's no. Long established downtrend. I got to see an impulse come out of that, and I got to see it's breaking some of these. You would continue to expect this to keep going down. Well, we're approaching zero at some point down there. But until this pattern is broken, until you've got a break here, you get an impulsive structure. There's no reason to think that that's going to fail. There's just no reason. So, if you were a short seller, you'd be looking to sell right there. Right as we've just come up to it. Much better against the dollar. I mean, it just is, right? So this one is a contender to play. The other one, it's not there yet, right? How am I doing? That's 18 minutes. Okay, I'm going to stop there, and I'll be back to you when I've got more to show you.